Lambert. I'm a modeller of the North Weald Model Flying Club. I've also a modelling clubs around locally. I've been in those as well, one in Harlow, one in Stansted. A model pilot of air shows. I fly around the country flying at air shows, demonstrating how to fly these aircraft. Wings and Wheels will be here in a few weeks' time, which I'm flying at, and I have a 11-foot spacewalker I'll be flying there. This particular aircraft is a Stearman PT-17, and it's a World War II trainer, which was designed and developed as an initial trainer for full-size pilots to fly from the Royal American Naval Air Force. So that's why it's in these particular colours, because normally it would be in all blue fuselage, all yellow wings, all yellow tailplane with a red and white striped fin. This particular aircraft is done in American naval colours, which is blue tailplane, naval same grey fuselage, yellow wings, which again is for training purposes. You've got a twin cockpit. They're always flown from the rear cockpit when there's only one of you. When there's two, obviously the trainer always flies in the front and the pilot flies from the back, because of the way the instrumentation's done and the way it's configured in the two cockpits. This particular model is an American designed from the full size, and the whole thing is built from drawings. There's 86 ribs altogether, including the wings, tailplane, fin and rudder. The fuselage is balsa and ply and stringered, which means they are like a boat, if you like, with a canvas cover around them on the rear end of the fuselage to keep the back end light. And because it's light, it's built for lightness there, is because you've got such a heavy engine at the front, being a radial. Normally they have a 7-cylinder cc radial in front of them. This particular one I haven't got in it. I've got a 3-cylinder radial, which is slightly different, purely and simply for pocket purposes. It's slightly cheaper. That's a very expensive engine. This is a 3-cylinder 90cc radial. Normally they put up to 150cc radials in these models, but this is more than adequate for this one. The model is 87-inch wingspan. As I said before, it's plywood and balsa covered, built, and Aero cover, which is the covering on it, this yellow on here, is exactly the same as what they cover the full size in, which is Aero cover. Quite expensive. To give you some idea, it's £100 just to cover the model in this material. It is very expensive. It's £13.50 a metre, and there's 10 metres on here, so it'll give you some idea. Everything else is basically the same as any other aero modelling, really, apart from the engine is totally different. Being a radial is very unusual. It is petrol, so you've got electronic ignition, you've got spark plugs, the tank and the electronic ignition is under the cowling, so it's all out of sight per the full size. I've put a few scale details on it, which is start-up procedure here on there, which is like a choke, if you like. You prime it, pegs to stand on for when you're working on the engine, where these covers would undo, oil filler caps, air intake. So I've tried to put a few scale details on it as much as possible. The undercarriage, you have got sprung undercarriage legs. They're like a motorbike forks. They are preloaded. Again, they are scale, not very cheap. They're made in America. I'll give you a rough idea. The undercarriage legs, not the wheels, the undercarriage legs and the tail wheel was £240. So it is an expensive model, but you don't build many of them, put it that way. I've always wanted one, and I've built it. It's taken me 8 months to build. Hours and hours and hours spent on it. As I said before, it's from drawings, so you use the drawings, trace the wood, trace the pictures on the drawings, stick it on the wood, cut it out, glue it all together. So there is a lot of it. Flying purposes, very much like full size. I've been talking to the guy who's got the full size here, and he's allowed me to look at his and have photographs of this taken with it, and chatting to him, he's turned around and said to me afterwards, talking to him about it, said this flies very much like it. So yes, you open the throttle, normal procedure, take off with half throttle, climb out, open throttle for high manoeuvres, shut throttle for lower manoeuvres. General flying, half to 1/3 throttle. That's all you need. As I said before, it's 90 cc's. It's not a small engine, so there's a lot of thrust from that particular prop. That propeller is 25 inches by 10 degrees pitch, which is the amount of movement on there. The prop nut I built on my lathe. I turned it up from solid bar because it looks right for that aircraft. Sprayed it in the colours which I required, which was from the local car shop. So again, I've done everything I can with it, and even down to the rounders on there. That is self-adhesive sticker trim, which I've cut out and stuck them on because that's what it required, that marking. Apart from that, everything is just standard building. Same with any model aircraft, if it was built, would be that. Whether there's anything else that anybody would like to know about it, they can always contact me through the local Model Flying Club, which is North Weald, Eppingham North Weald Model Flying Club. You can always ask for me, John Lambert. There are other members, we've got lots of other members. We'd always be, there to help you if you require us. Right, that particular aircraft in the distance, which you can see, is obviously a full size. This model is based on that. There was thousands of them built during the Second World War, and there are literally thousands left even now. The guy bought that 18 years ago, I believe. The guy who owns it is a full-size airline pilot, and this is one of his hobbies, and so he flies that periodically and he looks after it. He would have flown it today, but he's got a problem with the ignition on the spark plugs, so he can't fly it, so it's not quite right. And believe it or not, I had exactly the same problem on mine the other day, purely and simply because the plugs were oiling up. It was too much fuel on the top end, which means it needs to be on the carburettor side to thin the carburettor down. The carburettor is down inside there, which you can't see, but all it is a screwdriver and lean it out the same as you would a car, to get the RPM right. Once you do that, you open the throttle, tune the engine up, get maximum RPM, cut it down, and then it should cut back down to low throttle, and on a tick over you can more or less count the props on it, and it sounds absolutely beautiful being a four-stroke. But again, with the full size, going back to the one over on the other side, the airfield, that's exactly the same. He's got problems with that coughing and spluttering, so he wouldn't chance flying it. So he's now got to buy some new plugs for it, and they are 40 odd pound a piece, I found out today. So, but again, that is full size, and it flies virtually identical to this. You fly it from the rear seat. I believe it's 37-foot wingspan, 37 feet. It's a very light aircraft, tubular steel airframe, wooden spars and wooden ribs for the wings, and tailplane, fin and rudder. So it keeps it all light. And as I said, that is an aircraft for trainee pilots during World War II.
What an incredible coincidence. Did you come here because he was parked there?
Because I knew he was here, and I knew that he had this aircraft. I've always wanted one of those, so I built it and used his colour scheme to do mine. Not quite the same. His one is slightly different. It was made in a different part of America, under a different markings. But apart from that, they're both identical aircraft. It's only the colour scheme, but almost identical. And also the registration numbers are different. But apart from that, it's exactly the same. And yes, and his one's obviously a lot heavier. Mine weighs 27 pounds in weight, and it's, as I said before, it's 87-inch wingspan. It flies, well, as I say, it's very easy for me to fly. Because
Blue skies to you.
Blue skies to me, hopefully all the time.